Dulai, for obvious reasons, he couldn't get out of his house and get here this evening.
Yes,
Told
yeah,
him-
we do.
Told him, do not put yourself in peril, as we were kind of on the fence today as to whether or not we would be able to get a quorum to meet, but I do appreciate y'all being here. To get started, I would ask that everyone stand and help me pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Freddie has a ridge line.
What's that?
He has a ridge line. Yeah.
And so Miss Barbara also could not make it here tonight. No, Krista couldn't make it here. Raven had to get home. As far as support staff, we're shorthanded, but again, thank you all for being here. I had Dustin, our city attorney, look over and said we could go forward with the meeting as we do have some important business that we needed to discuss. He's gonna help the reading of resolutions and things, keep notes on votes. Ms. Barbara can then resolve the minutes based on the live stream in our notes and reconcile those, to put together formal minutes for tonight's meeting. First thing though will be the approval of the minutes from the December 22nd, 2025 meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from December 25 meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Let me help take notes here. Motion was from Kyle Marks, second from James Snyder. Have a motion and a second. Let me get a voice vote.
Mr. Hickman? Yes. Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
All right, second order of business, the financial statement for December 2025.
Make the motion to accept the December 2025 financial statement.
Second.
So Hickman with the second.
Yeah.
Let's get a voice vote.
Okay, Mr. Hickman? Yes. Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. I do want to skip the order just a bit tonight, just to put things in motion. We've had a council vacancy open since November 25th, 2025, when I stepped down from Ward 2, Position 1. We've had some interested parties. After talking to them and speaking with this gentleman, I would like to make the appointment of Mr. Randy Pullman to that seat, Ward 2, Position 1. Randy has served on our planning commission for some time. Randy, if you want to speak, or you want to speak for you, just based on our conversation, he feels like he can do more and serve the community better in a bigger capacity on council for the remaining term. So I'll make that appointment and ask council to vote on that appointment. I guess you have to make a motion in a second.
I make a motion to accept Mr. Holman for Ward 2, Position 1.
Second.
Mr. Hickman? Yes. Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Good deal. Randy, if you want to step up, I'll swear you in
Okay.
as soon as I can find what, there it is.
Nowhere else.
Randy, I'll swear you in. Just raise your right hand and say, repeat after me. I, Randy Holman,
I've read you all.
do solemnly swear or affirm
So I swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and that I will discharge the duties of the office of Alderman
on the office of Alderman,
upon which I am about to.
upon which I'm about to.
Take a second.
Rotator, what you want to do?
Be right back.
You got a low rider there.
There you go. Welcome, Randy.
Chip, yeah.
Cord down here.
Bet you said it forward now.
Yeah, right on the bottom.
You can adjust that thing up.
No, that one
Oh,
won't.
that one won't adjust it. Move this one over there.
Cool, thanks.
Well, that's-
Is that any dog?
I believe so. Barbara probably arm wrestled you for it when she was diet.
It's me. I'm getting
No, I think that was lower. Here, take this one. I'll use part of this, but we're gonna get us a new chair. I have to buy it.
You get it for you. The next item of business will be the organizational calendar. The ordinance 2026-01. Calendar should have been in your packets to look at. We've got the whole organizational structure and everything in that. It's got the council meeting dates listed on, I think, the appendix A. We did make a few changes to the workshop dates because there were a few months as in January where it was such a big gap. Put the workshop date to the beginning of the month. I think it was January and October that we looked at moving to the 15th instead of the 8th in October. But basically that structure stays the same of the fourth Tuesday as the council meetings and the second Thursday as workshop meetings. As time goes along, we'll be able to streamline those workshop meetings as well. Is everybody in agreement with that calendar? I think it's the biggest part of that, the organizational structure. I guess, could we go ahead and amend that and that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It says, Sure.
So I guess before we vote on the ordinance, section 1 of that was the ratification of recently elected officials. It does show, Ward 2, position 1 is vacant. So I would entertain a motion in a second to amend that part of the ordinance.
Make a motion to amend section 1A, Article 4, to add into the seated alderman.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yeah, do a
Okay.
roll call vote.
Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond? Mr. Marks? Yes.
Yes.
So we've got that amendment. Now, because this is an ordinance, and it's a rather timely ordinance, I guess we need to entertain a motion for the ordinance procedure for ordinance 2026-01.
Looking for. I make a motion we adopt ordinance 2026-01, is that right?
So you have to go through the ordinance procedure first, because it is an ordinance, the top section, the suspending the rules. It's page 9 of the packet, if that helps.
We had covered.
Yeah, I move that we suspend the rules and waive the second and third reading of ordinance 2026-01. Read the ordinance by title only and vote on ordinance 2026-01 after its initial reading.
Second.
So the motion by Mr. Marks, second by Mr. Snyder. Can you restate that motion?
Motion has been made and seconded in City Council, suspend the rules, waive the second and third reading of ordinance 2026-01, and read the entire ordinance by title only, and vote on 2026-01 after its initial reading.
Yeah, call the
Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Holman?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks? Yes. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-01, ordinance organizing the city council and meeting schedule for year 2026, enacted annually pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 144350.
Make a move, we adopt, ordinance 2026-01.
Roll call. Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder? Yes. Mr. Holman?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. There is an emergency clause that we enacted on.
Accept the emergency clause of ordinance 2026.
Second.
Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder? Yes. Mr. Holman?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Seems like a lot of circumstance to go through. Just to set a calendar. All right. Item B, resolution 2026-01, amending the 2025 budget. If some of you have been through this process before, some of you hadn't, so I'll just give a brief recap. We set a budget at the beginning of the year, projecting what we think we'll spend out of each line item as the year goes along. It has to be resolved at the end of that fiscal year for auditing purposes and things. So what this resolution does is basically kind of a blanket resolution to resolve all of those line items, or either less money was spent, more money was spent, just to make the budget line up with what the actual expenses were out of the accounts. It's a reconciliation resolution is what it is. Dustin and I say this is Commodore sitting here, all things trapped to do this, essentially. So I'd entertain a motion, you can read the resolution.
Resolution 2026-01, the resolution providing for an amendment to Resolution 2025-03, budget resolution for the city of Mayflower, Arkansas for the year 2025. Retroactive.
Motion to adopt, resolution 2026.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder? Yes. Mr. Holman?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes. Thank you, Jeremy. Item C, resolution 2026-02, Preston Sewer Billing. Get through all those budget items.
Read the
Yeah,
resolution.
read the resolution.
Resolution 2026-02, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign on behalf of the city a billing services agreement between the city and Conway Corporation pertaining to sewer utility billing services provided to Conway Corporation, Conway Corp., and for other purposes.
So this is a resolution, just for some discussion on it. On the north end of our water district, we have customers that are water customers that have been tied on to Conway Corp sewer that were never on our sewer. They had their own kind of community sewer, and they voted to tie on with Conway Corp. Conway Corp's asking us, since we send out their water utility bill, for us to continue doing that the same way we did for the other sewer service. We charge a fee, the fee's stated in here. For our billing services, the rates based on the water used, because we already have that information since we sell the water, and then send that payment to Conway Corp involved. It's basically just a billing agreement that's changed from one party to another. The terms have stayed the same. What I've looked at on this, the billing rate we're charging is, it's fair to us for the time we're putting in the bill. Any other questions? I entertain a motion for resolution 2026-02.
I'll make the motion that we accept resolution 2026-02 concerning the Preston sewer building.
Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder? Yes. Mr. Holman?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Gentlemen? Item D, we're which is resolution 2026-03, the paving of the section of Center Street. Is Jim and Joe here? Is he? There you are. I know we talked about this in the workshop, but if anyone has any questions, about that, Jim and Joe did that.
I had a question, just out of ignorance, what is the black paper like?
Jim and Joe,
Yo.
you want to read the resolution first, Jason?
Resolution 2026-03, the resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Mayflower to expend funds from the street 1 cent sales tax for the purpose of repair and maintenance to a strip measuring 466 feet on Century Street.
Okay,
The question was the
the
black
line.
paper.
Yeah, that, it lines the bottom of it. It's supposed to help with the moisture coming up there, plus it bonds what I'm putting in there, compacting it. I'm sold on it.
I'd never heard of that, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, it's just an underline.
Actually, I have a question, Jim and Joe, real quick on it.
All right,
So the asphalt, the 23,000 for asphalt, again, is this section of Center Street, and is it included in the, because we didn't get to this the last council meeting, and I don't actually have the paper in front of me, but I think we mentioned it at the workshop. We were approved for the RDOT grant,
yes.
and we'll have a part to pay in that that'll start, I think they're looking at starting paving in 2027, beginning of
When in
2027.
January, it's supposed to go out with bids
Gotcha.
in January 2027.
But basically, do you remember that number amount, Jimmy, offhand of the grant?
It's a $400,000 grant.
And our piece will be 80,000 roughly, is that correct?
Yeah, roughly, to go ahead and add these other streets in on top of that. While they're here, we're getting a deal on the paving. So
And I know,
that's why we voted that in.
yes, and I know Center Street was one of the included streets. Does that include this area of Center Street on that project?
It includes from Gandy Lane to the end of the city limits south. And Gandy Lane is involved with it. Because the north end of Center Street is in pretty good shape. And it's the south end that's falling apart on me. So I thought, you know, in line with the subdivision, that would be a good deal to go ahead and put that in. And then the rest of the streets. I'm excited. That's a lot of streets.
And I guess that was my question is that if this wasn't the same section street they were gonna pave, if it was, we did the prep work and then let them pave, but
Yes.
if it's a separate piece, then we need to go ahead and pay for the paving and let them,
Well, we've got to prep it.
okay.
The only reason I was wanting to put that little stretch of pavement in there was just as a shim.
For when they do pave on top.
And then they'll pave over the top of it, and we shouldn't have any print or anything. Should go good.
Gotcha.
Well, do we know, like, down there, Center to the south end, you get a lot of trucks going to the dump.
Yes,
Is that wear and tear on the road, is that more than what was anticipated when that road was originally put in?
yes.
And with this.
Well, that was old 365.
Okay.
Here.
Will this project be built to, I guess, support the larger vehicles?
Well, it has up until now. It's pretty much supported everything. It's been hammered on it, but now it's got to have some attention.
Right.
And that's one of them. Them loaded garbage trucks are just like a loaded dump truck. I mean, they're heavy. And they hammer. So, and then the added traffic from the subdivision is the reason I was wanting to go ahead and address this problem too.
I think it's great, I just want to be sure that if we have the opportunity to build to a standard to help the road last longer, so we won't be.
Well, the only thing you could do with that's bridge it with concrete. I mean, insured, probably.
And down the road, Center Street being so narrow anyway, I could see useful traffic, but can we restrict the flow since that subdivision is out on White City Road? Restrict the flow of traffic to no through trucks on that street, would that be helpful?
We could do that. But,
Just to make them take the highway and White City Road and pick it up? Roads that are more suitable?
Yeah, especially, you know, all those houses going in over there at the gate, kind of difficult getting in and out, because because like you said, the street is so narrow.
but I never entertained that, you know, because, maybe in the future, hope we take in that city down.
Definitely on
But-
the radar, yes.
Yes.
But I guess with the resolution being denied, any other questions from the council about the amount or the scope of the project for stated in resolution 2026-03? Motion.
Make a motion to accept resolution 2026-03.
Second.
Correct it now, good. Or the order that you're sitting now. Mr. Higgins.
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim, thanks for the good job on the city streets here too, brother.
Absolutely.
Good job.
That doesn't go without, or shouldn't go without saying.
On the ice.
Yeah, thank y'all. I can't get too many of them.
Take those attaboys when you get them.
You earned a break.
Next item E, resolution 2026-04, the fire and water split for generator. I know Mr. Matthews is stuck in from weather tonight. He knew everything about this resolution. Raymond is also at home tonight, trying to get home before where he lives out west before they got bad, so he didn't make it to the meeting. Chief Warren's here, he can talk about what he knows about the fire side of this. As far as the split cost,
I thought we hammered that out the other day.
we did talk about it in there, it's a split cost, and I'm trying to look for it here, and I don't even see it in my notes.
I'm pretty sure the cost was $9,600 each for each department.
And I know Raymond had in the budget, in the 26 budget, I think he had close to 30,000 for a generator. So he definitely has the money. Chief Warren and I talked about it, it was not budgeted in the fire budget this year. An already pretty shoestring budget. And we'd have to look at what part of the budget that comes out of, because operation, maintenance, all these different lines don't have enough to look at where that comes out of. I think there's a place it could come out of. Am I wrong, Chief?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do make it come out of O&M. For sure. That's
Gonna stretch the, and again, it depends on where revenues are toward the end of the year. We'd look at maybe closing up, but I think that generator with the grant that's applied is kind of a non-negotiable to get, constant power to our fire station in an emergency.
Could we, structure it where
Water pays for it, and fire pays for that part of it.
There's a potential that we could do that. Again, because water had 30,000
Like I'm saying, they just.
budgeted for it. Or what I told Chief looking, because I think with Chief taking the reins and just looking at things new, just like our police chief, there's gonna be some things that are gonna be shuffled and reordered. That maybe we look at it towards the end of the year, if there's a shortfall somewhere that we can potentially look at some places to shuffle money, to fill those needs. If that sounds good to everyone at this point. But I think the grant for this generator is just too good to pass up for both water and fire at this level.
Take combined, it's only 2/3 of the upgrade.
We can take a voice vote and then shorter the resolution, yeah.
Okay. So we don't have a created resolution for this, but if someone would care to make a motion, good question. Go ahead.
Water has budgeted a generator, 30,000. What percent? Grant is like 50, something like that.
I don't have the details of the
Would it hurt? That's okay. Sorry, let's look at this direction. Would it hurt to go ahead and pay for it out of water, still saves the money from not having to buy a whole? Shared anyway, have a new fire chief, new direction, new things, do we really want to strap him down, or could we pay for it out of water since it was already there, and then we can look at that at the end of the year, pay the water back at the end of the year? Right, we don't have emergency and stuff like that. So,
definitely a proposal. Do you see any issues with that, Dustin?
I mean, it's still only 2/3 as well as budgeted for a generator. It's for the same thing, it's for a generator. It's only 2/3 of what was budgeted. If water covers fire, then we can see if we could.
if we need to rearrange that down the road more than a year, but we've had something budgeted there, instead of strapping his budget to fire. And we just about can't say no, I mean, it's, we need it, and we've got a grant. Matter if, you know, if the fire department would not have gotten the grant, then the water department would be paying not 2/3, but they pay 100%. So would it be okay? Legal, is it okay to just pay that part out of the water?
I don't see an issue with it. I'm actually texting Matthews now because he has dug into this one.
Am I, Colonel, what do you think?
Yeah, the way I understood the purchase on it, it was a no-brainer, the percentage to do it. There was no question about it. I think you'd probably have to have something in writing to say that you were going to do that, or to keep us, remind us what we're going to do at the end of the year, pay them back if they needed it. We need to buy that though, the way they've got it planned.
Yes.
Definitely done stuff like that before.
She's got it as resolution 2026-04. It's just not a, yeah. I'm taking notes here.
It would be 9,800 each fire and water. Okay, yeah, here's my note. It says Chris Messy says for the particulars and stated he would do that resolution. So that's that. Okay, I was worried I dropped the ball. This is Chris's.
So instead of the 50-50, Mr. Hickman, you're proposing water cover it,
I am.
and then we'll revisit fire state act
Throughout the year.
after those projected, the projections start coming in. So I guess we can change that in the resolution. I've got a note here.
Just we'll take a voice vote tonight, documented in the minutes, and then we'll back it up with a formal resolution, of course.
Basically just say the water department.
Yeah, so a voice vote on water department covering the, what would that amount be, 20? What do you, 20,000, roughly 20,000. Roughly 20,000, 98,
There's 19,600.
yeah. So I'm putting, water department cover total cost initially. Being roughly 20,000. For both generators. So we're going to restate that. Motion is your motion. Motion that the water department cover the total cost for initially for both generators of $20,000, giving some flexibility, 19.6. And we'll revisit fire's contribution toward the end of the year. So if we'll get a voice vote on that action. That's the motion. I guess we do need a second.
Roll call. Mr. Hickman?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Field?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Holman?
Yes.
Gentlemen? All right. Next item, item G, because we already skipped up on F.
Real quick,
Yes, sir.
while we're kind of on the water stuff, I just kind of want to make just, I keep looking at the unaccounted for water loss. every month.
2.5 million gallons.
And, I mean, we're almost 2.5 million gallons unaccounted for. I mean, it seems to be, it was hovering around a million to 1.5 million, 1.8 million, and now we're at almost 2.5. And, I mean, it just seems to be getting worse. And, I mean, I think we calculated that at somewhere around $10,000-ish a month. I mean, when we're looking at the percentage of loss, it's 16.6%. That's, we've got to address that. That's got to be addressed. That's got to be needs to be a priority.
I agree, and going to talk about some things here in just a few minutes with Mr. Breckenridge from Salt Engineering, having to do with the wastewater side, but also having to do with water financing, that sort of thing. I think I know what Mr. Breckenridge is going to say before he says it, that 16%, the national average is around 15%, is that correct? But
yeah, I mean, if you're under 20 for Arkansas, it's, I'd say you're
now,
doing fairly good. Yeah, it just depends on the.
that's industry standard. Now, let me be clear on the record. We set our own standards here at Mayflower, it's unacceptable. It's been brought up to Raymond, and what we have to look at is, and Raymond said it time and time again, it's going to require more manpower to go out, find leaks, fix the leaks, that sort of thing. I think that's in a vision going forward that we can address.
Yeah, and I agree. I do think that that's part of it. But what I really, and I know I believe we're working on this. I really would like to see a strategic plan for infrastructure, because that I think is gonna be key to addressing this long term.
I'd like to see a strategic plan with targeted goals. That in the last 12 months, we've averaged 14% or whatever that number ended up being. That we set a goal of bringing that down to 12%, or, manageable, doable goals. If you're not striving for something, then you're piddling.
Looking at 2.5 million gallons of it. That's a million more than what it was a few months ago, last time I looked, was really paying attention to it. Seems like that would be something we could kind of find, because we're not a large water system, I don't think.
If I just dedicated one person to go drive.
And that's, right now, we don't have that person, but Mr. Breckenridge, if you don't mind, go ahead and stand it up for this. Raymond's not here to jump in, but
Yeah,
you and I have even talked about this in the last month or so, I believe it was, where they actually have, there are some options, rather than just driving around and trying to stomp out the woods and things.
yeah,
There's some aerial survey options.
there's satellite survey options, which work pretty well in cities. Down in rural areas, they don't. But you have to have, basically it pinpoints an area of search. You have to have then boots on the ground, acoustic method, some way to pinpoint where to dig. It'll give you like the 300-foot radius that appears to be a leak. They can differentiate between groundwater, chlorinated water, solution coming off. You can just, Raymond could help invest in acoustic devices and use your own manpower to do that. There are metering, metering systems you could put in. but
That's what I was gonna say, put a meter, not knowing the system, put a meter at certain legs, mains on the system and make sure that the water being billed down this trunk, if you will, of the line is matching the water that's being metered coming out of here.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you've seen it double, it sounds like you said you've seen it doubling in the past month, the water loss.
Not necessarily doubling, but I mean, it seems to have been up quite a bit.
Yeah, so I mean, that does indicate that it's not just conventional wear and tear or surface line moves or things of that sort. It would indicate, probably some type of main leak that has developed, but, finding it is the trouble. There's technology out there to help with it, but you have to invest money to do that, so, and manpower.
Well, and we've got a counted water loss, and I don't know how you do that other than an estimate on the water loss, but.
Well, I mean, with your new metering systems, I don't know if you've got does everybody have the new e-meters?
They're still switching over, I believe.
So with the new e-meters, you can tell exactly how much goes out and how much, if it comes to the master meter, whatever the difference is, wireless.
And ultimately, let's just be honest, yes. I think we can do some things to pinpoint those issues. Big picture, ultimately, it's gonna come down to infrastructure replacement. Over time, obviously, we can't just go in and dig up the city's pipes and put new ones in, but strategic improvement on the system. Pinpoint those areas that are older, that have issues. I know, I believe it was around Christmas, Mr. Hammond called me and sent me a picture of a leak in Snubs, that it was just boiling up out of the road. Raymond had to get locates, go in and dig and dug it up. Luckily, it was right there near that valve was where he found it, just off of it. And it was essentially the pipe had flexed. Originally wasn't laid right or something. There was something he explained. Again, I don't get into the technicalities of it, but that union there just separated. Luckily it was contained right there, but I don't think there was any way to gauge exactly how much water was lost out of that breach in the main. But those are the sorts of things that we could find with that technology, that we could find with a master meter in line, I believe, and start pinpointing those areas and coming up with a plan that, hey, as we get the revenues in to do it, let's replace this section, man.
Right now, it's $120,000 a year-ish that the city's paying.
Well, if you still have old meters, as you replace all those meters, we've seen as much as 10% just in the meter itself. If you have old positive displacement meters replaced by new e-meters, catches load flow a lot better. So we've seen as much as 10% just by meter replacement. So once you get all those done, it may help, but it probably will be a little bit more.
We're replacing meters and the water loss is going up. So something's not right
I don't
there.
have the data month to month, but I know I've seen months where we've been as low as 7%. This is one of the higher months I've seen in the last 12 to 24 months at 16.6. I don't think I've seen it higher than that in the last couple of years, but we got down to an area of about 7 or 8, and that was, again, not acceptable. It's what's our standard, industry standard for this, but let's set our standard at something else. So I think it's definitely something to look at going forward, trying to pinpoint that and shore up the system.
I just don't want to keep
Wasting money in the ground.
keep wasting money, but also just keep ignoring it. It seems like we're just kind of ignoring it, so I want to make sure that we address it.
Absolutely. Anything else, gentlemen? Part G, we have several vacancies on the planning commission. And as you know, we had some members of the community that expressed interest. They came to the council workshop, introduced themselves. I have tonight, I believe, 4 appointments, let me find my shoes, that I would like to present to the council. And I believe the council will have to vote on these appointments individually. Sound correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. And is there a swearing in of these? We do that at the planning commission. Is it since it's a board, we can handle that.
You could swear them on at the same time.
Yes.
If any of them wanted to vote to approve them as a collective, I have no problem. They need to have some sort.
Let me just go ahead and put the 4 names I had tonight, on the agenda for to add to planning are Jennifer Massey. And obviously, I don't think everyone could be here tonight because of weather. They don't have to vote tonight. Jennifer Massey, Todd Kelsey, Andy Stoll, and Stephen Lawrence. And I believe you met all of them at the workshop meeting.
Can I make a motion?
If you were inclined to vote for all 4 of them collectively at the same time, go ahead and make that motion in a second.
I would like to make a motion that we accept all 4 recommendations for a planning commission.
Second.
So that Hickman with the motion, Hill with the second. Any
Does
discussion?
that
on
mean you're off, right?
Not technically, but it will be. Any discussion on that? On the vote on all 4?
So, included in that, he's recommending.
Make a motion to, okay.
So that's fine.
So we got the motion in a second.
Feel strongly about it.
We'll take a voice vote then.
Okay, all right, roll call. Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Congratulations. All right, part H, police budget amendment. And I don't think we had a resolution worked up for this either, did we? We did discuss it workshop. We want to just go through briefly,
Which one? Sorry.
the budget amendment for the different, the shuffling that we were gonna.
So the first one I have is just shuffling some money to create a position that we already funded. We've been moving it to create assistant chiefs. So we can start our supervision, a couple more hours with that as we grow. Money's in the budget. Just gonna come, a little bit's gonna come. Wow.
Gotcha. And what, I know we talked about at the workshop, what were those areas that we were wanting to move money? I know it's like $26,000 in a vehicle.
There's 26,000 in vehicles, to purchase new vehicles. And so we would be moving about 6,000 out of that account. We can't really purchase a vehicle for that price. So we might later move some of those funds into uniforms and some other things that we have and the rest of that.
To reallocate that to other line items to make this position and pay for some other things that need to be done. Any discussion on that, council?
This, I missed the workshop, I apologize. The position is for assistant chief. So how, what's the command structure right now?
Right now we get chief, lieutenant, and just officers. So we would add it later. That's the change.
So we keep the lieutenant?
Yes.
I thought the lieutenant was kind of like an assistant.
He was actually appointed interim chief for the term before he died.
No, I know, but I mean, like in the command structure, why do we need a lieutenant and an assistant chief?
The goal is to spread it around a little more we can between the lieutenant and chief or assistant chief. We can't cover any of these all areas, so we'll stagger our shifts for different different times to kind of try to cover those things. Hopefully, you know, as the department grows, over time, we already have some infrastructure in place to grow. And this is a working position, as we all know. It's not going to be, it's not an office position. It's out there doing stuff.
Mr. Marks, if I may, kind of the rationale that was explained to me was in order to give, right now we're operating sometimes with one patrol officer being the only city officer that's on duty on the shift, and trying to spread that out to have 2 units on shift at all times, having that senior officer along with the patrol officer, should arrangement decisions need to be made or something like that, there's a higher chain of command, someone to answer to on each shift by spreading out those, the command structure with the lieutenant, assistant chief, and having patrol officers that are on patrol along with them, but having someone to answer questions to fill in gray areas that patrol officers do not know at that point. That extra layer of accountability.
I think it's more information on, I don't know, I'm not understanding how that benefits the state.
I think kind of the same thing, just like I said, it's spreading out. Right now, we have plenty of time, not people all stagger. So it's just kind of, instead of having 2 positions that are the same, we just kind of spread out, chiefs, assistant chiefs, and then the officers, it just gives our chain of command. You know, eventually, we have more body airport to work on different shifts, and that way we have a spectrum of people to answer people.
So right now, there are shifts where we don't have a supervisor. And this would allow us to expand to have
It
a
basically won't
supervisor.
cover everything at this point, but it's going to let us move in that direction. Hopefully, as we add people, the command structure to build.
I guess does it need to be an assistant chief, or can it be another lieutenant, or can it be a sergeant supervisor, can it be a, you know?
I guess it could be. It's kind of tied up, you know, that building has to.
But we're making a position that's in between chief and lieutenant. I don't know if I like that right now.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
It's all about money. We're budgeted to do it. But our budget's tight, and we gotta spend this money like it belongs to the community. That's all I can say.
If for me, we're moving, the money's already there and allocated, we're just moving it around. Not asking for more or anything tighter, we're just moving some of the dollars around to meet the chief's
It's already
vision of what the force would look like. And
kind of thinking long term with it is kind of our long-term growth.
I've always said, I'm not a police officer any longer, but I've always said I'd rather have, not saying that our officers are not, but I would rather have, a smaller crew of top-notch, well-paid officers than I would have just paid people barely what we could get them here in the door for them, and then hope for the best. Every time that we deal with that we see a complaint, and I think that's one thing, I'm not trying to speak for him, but I'm kind of getting it from the new mayors, want to stop a lot of these complaints and these problems and issues, and I feel like he's worked very hard doing that. However, you look at just a year or so ago, we had somebody just cussing one of our citizens like a dog. I hope that's over. And once you get to that, you know, once you acquire that level of officer that you can say, okay, we don't do this anymore. you know, I don't care if you call him an assistant chief or a colonel. You know, if the money's there, you may have an assistant chief working midnight, that's okay, you've got to cover a shift. But I personally don't care what they call them. Your rank structure, that's up to you. I just want to make sure that we've got coverage with quality people and people who go out there and do the job. That's where I'm coming from. I understand it, you know, I mean, it's through his department. If he wants, I guess if he wanted to have everybody as assistant chiefs, you can do that. You know, it doesn't matter to me what you call them. Now, obviously, that's not what you're going after, but the point I'm making is that what you call them really doesn't matter outside of your department. Thing is if we can afford to put them on and, you know, we pay everybody, you know, those salaries and, you know, we may have to let the city grow before we grow to more and more officers. Does that make sense?
Just to kind of share my vision, not just in police, but in every department. This goes to fire, goes to street, goes to water. This kind of sets us up for that next man up mentality, where we're not left in a gap because Lieutenant Decker, when he stepped in as interim chief, did a great job of filling the gap. But Lieutenant Decker would be the first to tell you there were things that he didn't know what was going on when Doug Hunter left. Just simply because of that lack of communication, that gap, and everyone should have someone else that knows how to do their job, because we're all one heartbeat away from not being here. Again, that goes to police, that goes to fire, that goes to water, that goes to security. And so in having that structure, everybody kind of knows who to answer to. Should Chief Woods not be here? Should Jim and Joe not be here? City business can still go on without a gap in coverage because that structure is there and we have quality people in those spots.
I actually think I saw an assistant Jimmy Joe the other day, down the road, is that right?
You what? You're right, speak up, I can't hear.
We vote on this?
I would entertain a motion to allow the shifting of the money and the creation of that
I
position.
make a motion to allow the shifting of the monies to
Second.
to create a new position.
Yeah, sure, and that's why I was trying to take notes here, and she can look at, so the motion on the table is to, allow money to be moved from certain line items in the 2026 proposed police budget, specifically vehicle maintenance, to add to wages, in the other sections of the budget, to increase that already proposed, I know I'm being wordy here, but to increase that already proposed police position, to elevate that position in the chain of command to a seniority position, the assistant chief position as well. Chief really isn't proposed. So the base vote?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mr. Hickory.
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
No.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
We also have one for the bike cameras.
Oh. Yes, and I think they put it on the same one, but we can address that as well. Go ahead.
It's already budgeted item, it's a yearly cost for us. The bill was $6,800 to Axon. It's for our licenses for body cameras and storage of the data. Basically with us. And so just want approval to spend that since it's.
Already budgeted, but it is over the amount.
Yes.
Entertain a motion to allow $6,800 to Axon.
Roll call. Mr. Hickman.
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes.
Mr. Snyder. Yes. Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief. All right, and then part I. Hurts my heart. Mr. Matthews isn't here. We've got a working draft. We're still dealing with some issues from, They're being addressed for different departments. I would entertain a motion to table this for tonight.
Make a motion to table, have in mind the policy manual.
Second.
Yeah, just a voice vote on that. All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Carries. I had the policy manual as, I'm just trying to think this forward. James Snyder as the motion. Second of that. Thank you. So that's table. In other business, Kim Barksdale, I reached out to her. We're going to try to push them to next month. That's some kids we wanted to recognize that were on the agenda for 4-H. Obviously, the weather put that out, but I'll still try to put that on February's agenda. Do have a couple of gentlemen here tonight. Let's, Jimmy.
Yeah, I got Ryan here, Joe.
Yes, I was going to say with half
On
engineer.
Center Street,
Yes,
they
sir.
got some numbers.
Step on up.
Good evening, council. And to introduce myself to the new councilman, since the last time I was here, my name's Joe Moore, and I'm with Half Associates and I've been the project manager on the Main Street Overlay project. So Jimmy had asked us to come and present to y'all tonight. Said that y'all may have a couple questions about the project, and I thought where I'd start is just a general overview on where we're at. The contractors largely finished the scope of work. The plan included out there, and where we're at now is working through a punch list of items we think he needs to address. So,
How about Main Street?
On Main Street, yes, sir. The Main Street overlay. So a majority of that work is finished, and like I said, we're going through, we've reviewed it and created a punch list of items for the contractor to address. Talked through those items with him actually this morning, and he said he had no problem taking care of those things. So he's going to work with his crews, obviously, with whether, and get back out and work on addressing items on that punch list.
What are some of the things that you got?
There are a couple of soft spots in the gravel shoulder that have rutted up from various.
Had to be shored up.
Right, it's going to shore them up. There's a place near Miller Street. It's on the south side of the project. There's standing water along the edge of the road. That's probably why the gravel shoulder is a little bit soft. Went back and reviewed the plans. We'd asked him to extend that ditch grading closer to Miller than he had done. So just needs to come and kind of clean out the ditch and help drain off the standing water. And hopefully that'll help the shoulder there.
I drove that the other day, and is that normal? Unevenness of the street itself?
It's an overlay project, so it's largely working with the existing grades that are there. We're putting, overlay back on top of that grade. Yes, sir.
And we had some shoulder cracking on the edge of the pavement that's gonna let him tell you about it.
Right. So there are a couple places where you see some cracks about this big along the edges of the road. A lot of them seem to be on the east side of the road where you have the ditch right up against the road. I did bring an exhibit, and I'll pass this out that helps illustrate what I'm going to talk about, so I'm not drawing pictures up in the air. And the reason I did this is there's a couple places where the shoulder cracking is bad enough. I think he needs to come out and address that. There's some places where the shoulder cracking is very minor, and I think that's what you're going to see in an overlay project. And I'll kind of describe that with these exhibits here. I'll talk through these. These have a page that was inserted in the middle of it, so.
And we also come in budget. Here, acknowledge.
Yes, as Jimmy said,
3,800.
we're working through I'll grab those numbers. So, as Jimmy was saying, the project is projected to reach the budget. The original contract amount was 777,000 and some change. If you recall, I was here to ask for a change order on a water line relocation and an additional head wall. That was $28,300. So that change brought the total contract amount up to $805,000 and some change. Total installations to date, so that's everything that they've invoiced for to date. Like I mentioned, the project's finished. We're working on correcting some things. 773,000 and some change. So what that means is the project is about 3,800 below the original contract amount, or 32,000 under where the contract amount is today with the change order. So essentially, the change order, was free, if you will, and there was a little bit of savings on top of that. So to talk through.
Yeah.
To talk through the packet I just passed out. The reason I did this is just to kind of explain asphalt, and I apologize if some of y'all already know this, and this may be somewhat boring, but asphalt pavement, there's a diagram in here. This describes the general cross section. So if you cut an asphalt road in half, just a local street, this is generally what that cross section would look like. It's got a subgrade, aggregate base layer, and then as you work your way up, an asphalt surface layer. That asphalt surface layer is what you see. The base layer and the subgrade are where the strength of an asphalt pavement road are. The surface layer is your smooth driving course. It uses a smaller aggregate, so it's not using 1.5 inch stone or anything like that. It's a small aggregate, and that's what makes an asphalt road smooth. The strength, though, that surface, that asphalt surface, doesn't really have any strength to it by itself. You can, if it's on the edge of the road, put any kind of weight on it, it'll crumble. The base and subgrade layer are where the strength of the road are, and so this cross section demonstrates that each layer as you go down is wider than the layer above it, and that's to help disperse the load that's applied to it out. When you overlay an asphalt road, and I've attempted to draw that in here with red, that overlay, what you're doing is putting another layer of asphalt surface right on top of the surface you had before. And so it doesn't have that step out. And when you get onto the very edge and you run a load off the very edge, it's likely to crack. The other thing it'll do is it'll reflective crack, the cracks that were in the road before. That's the nature of it's to be expected with an asphalt overlay type project. So this edge cracking, what I'm trying to say is something I'm not too shocked to see, especially if we've had any kind of load applied to the edge of the road. If someone's run off, to pull over, run a trailer off the road. Some of this is where we've seen the gravel running, and so it's not too surprising to me. There's a couple of photos in this packet. This first one was this one here that I inserted into the packet was just to kind of demonstrate that principle I was just talking about. This is an area where you can see the asphalt overlay without the gravel backfill. This is where they did a point repair, and this shows that there's a 2-inch lip where that asphalt overlay was installed. So that was just a real kind of a live photo of what the cross section shows. And then the last couple photos in the packet were to show existing street. And you can see that there's some edge cracking on the existing street. And so with this, again, this layer was placed and it may mirror what was going on underneath the existing pavement, especially if there's a load applied to it. So to kind of summarize, there's a list of things we've asked the contractor to come back and work on. And then these certain items right here, these smaller hairline cracks, I don't think it's anything that the contractor did or didn't do. It's just the nature of this type of project.
Mr. Moore, if I may ask,
Yes,
larger
sir.
scope of it. In the original proposal or contract that we signed, what was the scope of work to be done on the base layer? Because I'm asking for, you could look, by the way, this extra exhibit here, in case you didn't know, this is the finished product. This is the overlaid road here. There were essentially two small patches on each end of Northwoods subdivision, and this is where they came in and cut out and overlaid a larger stretch of it. Cut into the lines they had painted, which I'm sure in the remedies as well.
That's on the list, yes, sir. As is backfill in that area with gravel.
Yes, because this is where you turn out, not that it would be on it much, because it's where you would turn into the subdivision.
Yes, sir.
But if you'll look down that street, if you'll vision with me, see this waviness? And I guess my question was there any shimming originally in the proposal to bring that subgrade, the old road up to a flatter road prior to the overlay?
No, sir. It was just purely an overlay job. There wasn't a shimming involved with it. No, sir.
Is it a 2-inch overlay?
Yes, sir.
What was your question?
How thick the overlay was? 2 inches. How thick the overlay was?
On a job of this size, just off the top of your head, I know there are machines that you can run across to level the existing surface. And this apparently, I can see from here on this photograph that there's some places there that are not level. How much would it add to a project of this size? Have that machine go in and to level that surface, as the mayor had just mentioned, to bring it back to a level surface before we, it's called shimming, thank you, to shim this entire project.
The existing surface?
If
we started.
Prior to laying.
We just say if we just started over again and for future reference, the shimming of this, would it cost 20% or 50% more project?
No, sir. Not on the magnitude of 50% more. You're down closer to the 20%.
20%, which seems to me would be apparently from looking at this road and the unevenness, that it would have been a good investment for us to spend that additional 20% to do that. Something that the council may look forward to. And Jimmy, we may consider that. And I think you just talked about that on Center Street. This is right here. If I saw this in the through job and that was my neighborhood, I would say, looks like we've got a roller coaster here.
Let me be fair, it's much better than it was. But better than it was is the standard that we're looking for when we spend $800,000 on a street project. And I guess my thought going forward is 2 years from now, is it going to be better than it was? Going forward as they're not trying to put you on the spot, but are there things that maybe we should have included in a proposal on that maybe we didn't looking forward that we're not going to include in the future to where we have a better outcome of product in the end?
There's certainly a lot of things you can do, to an asphalt road. Doing an overlay is probably I wouldn't even say that. There's a lot of things you can do to preserve a pavement. You can come in and seal coat it. There's things like that. And then you get into an overlay. There's several things you can do, even above that. You can come in and reclaim a road. You pulverize that base and restabilize it and put it down, and that gives you a brand new base. It takes away from a lot of that reflective cracking that you may see. The order of magnitude of cost as you continue to go up that, just increased. And so we were approached about doing an overlay job, and that's,
Certainly, and listen, I'm no asphalt expert. I just rely on you guys as our engineers to tell us what we got and what we're paying. If we got our money's worth, or if we should be looking at remedies on the back end.
I would say it's, if y'all came out and said, and in fact, we did this with Jimmy, if you came out and said, we want to do X and we didn't think it was appropriate, we would have had that conversation. Asphalt overlay jobs on roads such as these is very, very common. We did have places where we talked to Jimmy, we said, you've got some base failures in certain spots, and we think you need to go and fix those ahead of them paving, because you're going to end up with a bad failure, within months of doing the job. And so Jimmy did that ahead of the project, and so I think I would be, I think the job was done right for the type of job it was done. Will you have reflective cracking? Sure, that's not uncommon on it. Asphalt roads crack. The more you do to the subgrade and the base, the least amount of cracking you may get, but they will still crack. And that little crack along the edge, I don't think is something the city should really.
So, and I just, listen, maybe unfair, but I drive this road every day.
Sure.
That's where I live, so I kind of kept an eye on the project. I would ask questions, and before you answer, here's why I would ask why. Were your engineers on site the whole project? And here's the reason I asked. They spent months, and I know they were waiting on the water line relocation and the culvert, the head walls to be poured and all that sort of thing. But it was months ongoing, and then it was, even I, from my position, like, when's this thing gonna pop off? What are they waiting on now? And I don't want to, these are anecdotal timelines, because I don't have them reported. I could. But it seemed like they paved on a Thursday. They came and put some gravel down on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on my way back from church, they were painting lines on it. All just prior to the end of the year, like they were like, hey, let's get this one done and get a check. I'm not dogging the contractor at all, but that's the appearance that I got, which makes me think that if we spend a month doing prep work, it's like, okay, we're trying to do right, and then in a week's time we went in and threw, I hate to use that word, but threw the rest of it in, so hey, we're going to submit an invoice, we're bound to overlook something, or to rush something that maybe didn't need to be rushed. Maybe that's a fast part of the project. I don't know that scope of it. I do know that week after Christmas, the shoulders had extreme failure when Jimmy Joe drove a load down them. They sunk 4 inches in spots or more. I understand that some of that's from sub-base, but when you bid the job, it seems to me like you go out and look and say, hey, that sub-base is low. We might have to add a little more in to have the final product what they're asking for in the scope of this contract. I know when they were painting lines, I haven't got out and inspected the lines, but it looked like the gravel from the shoulders were barely even cleared off the asphalt before they painted the lines, and potentially even painted over gravel. I don't know if they had a sweeper truck or what. Again, they were painting lines on a Sunday. I don't know. What I do know is they have gone out and put some more riprap and poured flowable fill on that, concrete on that, with hopes that it'll hold in the main flow area there, because that wasn't up to spec. Just from the surface, kind of the smell test to it, has me with the impression that it kind of stinks.
So there's a bunch of questions.
There were a
answered
lot.
in
I
that
told you to
statement,
answer
so-
it. I'm going to
Right.
pile on just to show you my perception.
So let me know if I don't answer one of them. Our inspector, yes, we had an inspector out on site. We were part-time inspection, so they were out on site. Did they catch every little thing that the contractor did? No, they were part-time. They were out here for the entirety of all the asphalt paved portion of it. That's it's a pretty crucial piece. That's the main objective of the job. So they were out for the entirety of that. There are times where they weren't on site because maybe they weren't, like you said, they were maybe off for a couple of days and then they're back on, weren't notified that activity would be going on. So I don't believe they're out here for the striping on a Sunday. I think that kind of happened without us knowing about it. They weren't out here for the installation of the gravel. Again, that happened on a, without prior notice. let's see, the asphalt overlay going in over a matter of days, I believe it was 2 or 3. I do have daily reports so that document these things. I'd be glad to send them to the city to show this. But they, yes, that's normal. They can get in and do the overlay in a matter of a couple of days on a project this big. Redstone's a big contractor. They've got the manpower and equipment to get in and pave that road quickly. So they did do that. The gravel shoulders, we did have some concern with that. Like I said, we weren't out here watching that. We didn't feel that they compacted it well. Jimmy did some proof rolling on the edge and found some ruts, as you mentioned, right around the holidays or right before or after Christmas. They came back out and added gravel and recompacted those areas. We've found a few more spots, also recompacting those. Like I mentioned, I think some of the gravel ruts that we've seen are not just from they didn't show up when Jimmy proof rolled them. But some of there's some standing water in the ditch. As I mentioned, we've asked them to come back and regrade that ditch and try to get water away so that area is not so soupy. The other area is we called for the gravel shoulder. There's 2 foot of gravel shoulder. And sometimes that encroached on a ditch, and so we called for embankment to be placed to help shore that up and then taper that down, compact it down into the ditch flow line. There's a few places where that wasn't done, and that's on the punch list to hopefully shore up that shoulder so it's not on a sheer drop off.
And let me be clear about it. We're not trying to beat anybody out of anything.
I'm just explaining everything.
Yes, sir. We want to make sure we're getting our money's worth as a city for our citizens.
Yes, sir.
Based on the work and the scope provided.
And the riprap with the flowable fill in it. So that goes back into that waterline area. What we had in that area before was head walls with a short wing wall. They stubbed out on both box culverts. When we added the gravel shoulders, we moved all the box culverts out and rebuilt the head walls. In that area, as y'all recall, we had to relocate a water line because the extension of the box culvert and head wall was going to conflict with the water line. So we pushed the water line out. There's a sanitary sewer manhole on the outside of the water line, so we couldn't push the water line. And then we have right-of-way constraints, so we didn't push the water line any further than was needed to install the box culvert. What that did do is limit us with the ability of installing a big wing wall back on the box culverts. So it was a straight flush head wall. In talking with Jimmy after that was done, he mentioned that water goes through one of the head walls, one of the culverts on a regular basis, but when you get a high flow event, kind of jumps over and it'll overflow through the other culvert. He said when that happens, you tend to get water swirling up there, so he was concerned about the edge of the road. Where we left it is let's talk about, there's a couple options. We could install riprap in that area. We could look at trying to install a head wall, solid head wall all the way across from box culvert to box culvert. I said, one is your most cost-effective option, and the other is a more costly option. I said, let's get, this is where it's at today. Let's finish the job, see where we're at with the budget, and have that conversation. In the meantime, we mentioned that to the contractor, didn't give him direction either way. And in the meantime, he came out and installed riprap the way he did. Jimmy and I looked at it and said, this isn't the way we even want this riprap installed. We didn't really have a conversation about this. He goes, yeah, I know, but don't worry about it. I had this extra riprap. I'm just trying to help the city out. There's no charge. Let me just get it in there. We talked to him about, he hadn't done it right. So he decided, in working with Jimmy, let's put flowable fill to try to shore that up and make it more sound. So that kind of went in without a lot of discussion. It is the most cost-effective method of doing that, given the circumstance of all the utilities and everything in that area. So that's how that got to where it is today. Yes, sir.
Do I have any additional questions?
Who was the contractor?
Redstone. And I think it's going to come down to, once the punch list is completed and invoices submitted, if we've got any more questions at that point, we can ask, because now it seems like we're bringing up points that maybe are being addressed. So.
Yes, sir. We're going to work through the punch list. They have submitted a pay estimate. That's what we're using to develop the cost I read out to the council tonight. that's for items completed. It does hold with retainage of about $58,000 that's written into the contract to withhold that retainage for addressing punch list type items. And so, it was our intention to, we'd be glad to do this either way, is submit that one pay estimate, work through these items with the retainage in mind, or we can work out the items and then submit the pay estimate after those are addressed.
When you're doing a road such as this one, would it not be something that's kind of automatic to want to do what we could to make that road smooth and level? Or is that just something we just, I drove down it this week a couple of times, and I noticed it's pretty wavy, and then the cracks, and then, I guess just right after they put the pavement down. Seems like am I wrong, over there in front of Northwoods, there was almost like a big soft spot there and stuff like that.
Yeah, there were dips, worse dips in the original way. Better than it was, but again, in my mind, not the standard. When you pay $100,000, we're like, man, I'm on a new road. Is what I guess is what maybe my expectations aren't where the contract was. I didn't sign the contract, but Jimmy, you want to help me out here with this?
Yeah. We wasn't building three well.
Sure.
So if we'd have shimmed that whole road, the asphalt would have probably doubled. To have got all of
the waves out.
Yeah. And at that time, we was already looking at a pretty good size price.
You said around 20%, right?
I don't know the number to shim it. What you're going to do is essentially what you'd had to do is look at every valley between high points and add layers of asphalt until you got it smooth.
You may have had 6 inches of asphalt
so
in a 20-foot section. You may have had 2 inches.
Well,
to really floated it out, shimmed it out.
I don't think we're talking about different things because double the asphalt may have only been 20% of the project.
I'll say this, out of the total project had about $230,000 of asphalt overlay in it. So, you could look at adding 50% to that easily. So it could be another $100,000, $150,000. It's hard to, it's impossible for us to predict. They'd have come out and shimmed it until they got it.
Again, I said before,
Yeah,
not looking to beat anybody up anything.
Right.
I just want to make sure before we pay any invoices that we in fact got everything we asked for based on contract.
Yes, sir. That's the way this job from day one was. It was going to be an overlay job. It's a local street, low speed limit. Yes, sir.
Now, I'll admit, I didn't know a lot about it, the contracting it out, because I've always pretty much done it myself, in-house, other than laying the asphalt, as far as the prep work. And so I've learned a lot on this project too, going forward to another project. And I don't know, it seemed to me like we're both learning something on this. I know he's the engineer, but still, from the very start, we should have had it served. There's so many different things that we should have done in it. Regular blueprints,
To answer the questions on the levels of the street ahead, so you accurately bidded the project without making up numbers. You needed to go and do a full topo survey on a mile-long road. That in itself can cost a lot of money and is not standard for just an overlay job on a local city street. It's a significant cost item to a project, but it's how you would know the answer.
A balance between economically feasible.
Yes, sir.
Efficiency is that between feasible and what we need.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the whole road needed to be shimmed as a perfect zero grade road. That's not.
That has been pretty much what would have had to done to pull the, made it smooth.
I'm not an asphalt guy, I'm not a road guy, Jim Joe. That's the only road that I can remember being on anywhere around here. It's, you go along there and the whole thing is like that.
But don't go down Paradise Circle.
I had to, I don't expect this other project over here on Center Street to be that way.
No.
You don't need to be that way.
No.
But I don't want to go do a topo survey and do all that stuff. It just needs to be right and smooth. Run seems to me like that's a big deal.
I've got 2 streets in town. There's that one in Paradise Circle.
Is that a new street over at Paradise Circle you're doing?
We spent a lot of money a few years back on it. Completely digging out, undercutting 3.5, 4 feet to make it right. Compacted it. And it's still, for some reason, it's still, it's got, I don't know what you call it, kind of a natural roll to it.
So, Mr. Moore, do you have an invoice tonight? Is that what you were saying?
Not to present to council, I was letting you know where the project status is.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
But you're saying that invoice would be roughly $715,000, holding back the $58,000 to complete the $773,000?
Yes, sir, roughly.
Thank you, sir. We get that invoice and hear from your punch list, I think we'll be able to move forward. And
But all the roads on that overlay project, they're not like North Main.
and you're doing the prep work on all of this as well? Correct?
Yes,
It's gonna be smooth.
yes. I want you to drive it when I get done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right.
All right, another engineering firm, Kyle. Yes, I believe Kyle put this out. And this is in reference to the sewer project. The council has a resolution in place to continue forward with the Force Main project at Conway Ford. But we discussed it at the workshop, but we kind of thrown some caution out there based on the rate that Conway Ford presented, as a per thousand rate. And other things, we discussed it at the workshop. Mr. Marks said, we weren't, in that workshop, but that's what we're gonna kind of overview tonight and see if we can kind of get some direction going forward.
Yeah, so I guess 12 months ago, 18 months ago, probably now, I'd have to check back when y'all approved the moving forward the pump station and Force Main project. We started down that pathway and we were gonna go ANRC funding. We did that, seeking infrastructure money last fall, November ANRC meeting. You did receive an offer, but the offer was loan only, no grant component, no infrastructure component. So loan only at 4% for 20 years for $11.5 million. That would fund the project. You have to accept that offer by Friday, 31st. So essentially it's the 30th, that's Friday. So you have to accept that offer by Friday. We have been asking for a definitive rate per 1,000 gallon from Conway Corporation for about a year. So once you got the offer, we said, hey, we really need this number. They responded, I think, right before the council workshop a couple weeks ago at $650. was the initial, and I responded, they brought it actually down to $4 per thousand. So that's what this top chart that's on the top represents. It took that $4 per thousand, and used an assumed average daily flow, calculate the annual cost at $4 per thousand, and calculated the additional revenue required for your sewer rate to cover that. And we looked at the water component there is that if you added a fixed charge on the water, $5 per month or $10 per month or $15 per month on the water, the remaining would be funded by sewer alone. Obviously, you have about twice as many, more than that, maybe, I have to look, you got 3,200 water customers, 1,200 sewer customers. So you got more than twice as many water customers. So this gives you a breakdown between each, the Colony Court Pump Station and Force Main project versus looking back at a wastewater treatment plant project. Now there are a couple issues. You gave us the go-ahead 18 months ago or so. We've got everything designed. We've got health department approval. We've got all the easements ready to send out, and we've gotten all the way updated title search done. So we're ready to send easements before we even have the offer letter. We're just waiting on that. So you've already spent that money. The other thing, I did check with Conway, Faulkner County, rather, with Tom Anderson, and he did confirm that you will not receive any additional funding if you abandon the money that's been allocated. The issue is they had to have those funds obligated by December 31st, 2024, which y'all signed a contract, I think in November, October, the previous mayor did, of 2024, going towards the Force Main project. So because those were obligated that way, they can't retroactively change that. They've got a catch-all project that they already had approved. If any projects, undercut or whatever, had additional money left over, they have a way to spend it. So they will not allow you to carry any of this county money remaining over. Like, if you don't purchase the easements, that's going to be $800,000. You can't carry that into wastewater treatment project. So we've been talking about, different feasibility here of each project. $4 is what they said, now $4 per thousand, and they did mention a 2% annual increase. So that would be on top of that. And then, you could possibly negotiate, maybe lock in at $4 in, but they're probably not going to lock in very long. So if they start at $6.50, it's like how long it take to get $6.50. We were basing all of our preliminary numbers and stuff. We were looking at kind of the break-even cost. I was assuming it would be around $3, somewhere in that range. And I was looking at their audited financials and their treatment plant cost. You can look at their financials. It breaks out their wastewater treatment plant cost. It's not broken up by plant, so it includes 2 plants. You'd only be contributing to one, a larger plant, to value. But I just did some back of the envelope, calculations, making some assumptions. I don't have all the data, but the 650 was way out of the ballpark.
Well, the Cal 10,000 foot view, based on what I've seen, we would, as far as the capacity of their plant, we would be, if I did my math right, roughly 1/16 of that capacity.
You should be less than 5% of that.
Yeah, 1/16, 1/20 of that capacity. And they're trying to bill us at closer to 1/8 of their operating costs.
I mean, yeah, I expected it to be maybe, 3 times, 2 to 3 times of the prorated O&M cost. Because, you're not really impacting any of their infrastructure other than the treatment plant itself. So that was kind of how I was basing my $3 figure. Obviously, I was
and they're roughly charging us what they would charge customers for.
I mean, they did drop it to $4, but I mean, I guess obviously everybody's now concerned. How can you drop from $6.50 to $4 overnight? So that's maybe a more of a concern than just.
So basically, if we're willing to pay for it, they'll take it, but really, it really don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly, when I saw the $6.50, I was like, they're just trying to drive him, but they did come down. So.
Here's my concern. I've seen this, man, I've seen more illustrations than I care to ever see in my life. And this is the way I feel, whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but the way I feel is, out of 3 mayors now, there's been one that's actually took the bull by the horns and read the contracts and figured it out to where it actually can feel somewhat comfortable with the proposal. And I'd like to, I hope we can cast out all the stuff that we don't need and focus on what we do need.
I hope that piece of paper I just gave you will do that, if you'll just work with me for a second.
Carry on, I'm listening, I'm all ears.
So that piece of paper, it's hard to tell what's front and back, but look at, there's a table on the top of the front. Those highlighted rates are where we are at their $4 per thousand. Those monthly increase numbers, no matter how we disperse it to customers, whether it's solely water, water sewer, solely sewer, that's the amount per customer that we're gonna have to increase a bill per month, of the debt service per month. On the left side, you'll see that's the force main project that's right now where we're headed, where we're voting for. On the right, you'll see that would be the wastewater treatment plant, the SDR project, if we kept it in-house and did it here. So you'll notice about an $8 savings, just there to keep it in-house. Now, I want to clear the air because most everyone at this table knows that I was a councilman that voted nay on this to begin with. This is not a vendetta against that. Fully ready to sign what the council had voted on, I think back in August, was the last vote on that. May have been before, may have been in May. I've got the minutes for the meeting. I wanted to pump the brakes on this before I signed that intent letter with ANRC. Because we're already gonna have to go up on customer rates. But what we're looking at is paying even more as customer rates to give up the local control of our sewage. For the foreseeable future, you're gonna have to pay, well, on this 10% more, up to 12% more to give up our local control, send it to Conway Court. And some of the more cautions, and I spelled this out in the notes that I gave you in the workshop meeting. If we go to Conway Court, they could immediately call our hand on our collection system that requires about $5 million worth of improvements. Per the contract, they could immediately say, hey, oh, by the way, you need to take out another $5 million debt service to fix those pump stations.
Well, they were willing to take that out. We talked specifically about that. It's like you set the rate for whatever. It's like, because you really have no control over it.
I'm only saying that because it wasn't stricken from the contract.
They have
I had
not revised that contract.
In how many months?
We sent red lines.
It was in August.
It was, yeah, it was before the other mayor departed. So.
The only reason we got a per thousand rate that we haven't gotten in the 5 years we've been working on this is because I asked, and Mr. Breckenridge pressed them, and they gave it to us like 2 weeks ago.
Right before the
650 right
workshop
before
meeting.
the day before the workshop meeting. You're saying make it more simple. I broke it down to what it actually looks like as a customer, because I'm gonna be honest, guys, if we're not taking the customers into account and what it actually looks like for them, we're not doing our jobs. And so I know there's a lot of numbers there, and I guess I could have color coded it and made it easier. But if you look down where it says estimated at the bottom of that page, if we add $10 to a fixed water rate to all water customers, currently on a 5,000 gallon customer, that's just pulling a number out of average customer, 5,000 gallon a month. Currently for water and sewer, the customer's paying $129.20 a month. With the force main project, Conway Court, that would go up to $195.07 a month. Giving up control, sending it to Conway. With the wastewater treatment plant, the SDR system, it could potentially only increase that to $186 per month. Still an increase, still an unpopular increase, a necessary evil, but it's less of an impact on ratepayers, and we keep the local control. I'll get back to more of that in just a minute. There's a couple of other proposals here. There's a lot of work if you want to look there. I can't promise this because they're not on the ground. I'm not going to sit here and promise houses that aren't built. There are houses being built right now in Mayflower that are not in these numbers with this debt service. There's projected in the next 10 years. Chris Matthews told me 1,200 homes in the next 10 years, based on 3 on-paper projects that are just before being presented to planning commission and going forward. I don't want to do that. I'm being conservative and saying 600 homes. That adds 50% to our sewer revenue. And Mr. Breckenridge, if I'm lying, stop me right here, without adding a great deal of impact on our SDR system. Am I correct in saying that? The
Yeah, that's
operating
right.
cost is not gonna
Right.
go up substantially, but our potential revenues from customer rates would increase by 50%. That would then allow us the extra money to build infrastructure, to fix those pump houses. It would allow us the extra money to pay down this debt quicker and lower rates quicker. This thing could be going forward in 15 years.
I will say this though, I mean, I like where you're going with that. However, what we saw with this wastewater treatment plant, you know, at first it was $2 million, and then it was $4 million, that's $12 million. I mean, it's just, and that was in the span of a couple of years. So you're talking in 10 years, you're still estimating that the $5 million that we're gonna need to replace infrastructure is gonna be $5 million. That might be $30 million in 10 years.
And I'm taking for granted that you weren't at this
That
meeting.
$5 million is only the electrical as well. So it's only the electrical improvements for your existing lift stations, which is what Raymond asked me to evaluate.
Yes. Although, let me put a pause on that for just a second, looking at vision, because we've always been reactive instead of proactive. I've also had this discussion with Raymond and Mr. Breckenridge. That's if we contract it out. We were just talking earlier in this meeting about needing additional water personnel to look for leaks, to do these things. Now, granted, you may not send an electrician out to do this, but if we were able to save the money to do it and have someone on staff as an operator at this station and things like that, and to rebuild those things, to do those things over time in kind, that $5 million may come down to $3 million, $3.5 million. I'm shooting at the wall there. But if we can do them in kind instead of contracting them out, we've got personnel on hand that can do things that we're hiring with those things and saving to do it ourselves. Plus go toward the future where when we double our population that's not on the ground yet, but when we double it, we've got revenues that are pouring in. We're now building infrastructure instead of being reactive and sending it with increasing rates to Conroe Field. Additionally on that one, and I want to mention this for you, Mr. Marks, one of the big issues when we voted on this back whenever it was looking at the shifting goalpost from ADEP, the shifting regulations, if you will, on food. In our current system, it's really not set up to handle the shifter. You'd have to add to the system. This proposed system with the $8 million debt service as opposed to the $11.5 million that we're calling for, it's $3.5 million cheaper up front to keep it in Mayflower there. Now, granted, it washes out with the different rates if we take a private rate on the other.
I did factor that in, so that's why the break even changed.
Yes.
321 now, if you factor in.
Yeah, I saw that.
The different debt service coverage ratio required of private versus public bonds and the different interest rate.
And I'm not trying to get in the weeds here, but let me explain why that is too, why the debt service still looks closer, even though that's 11.5 and this is only 8. With a private bond, we have to set back 20% addition to our debt service, whereas with the A&RC bond, it's only 10%. But with that 20% to debt service, once that's collected, that's infrastructure money that can then be shuffled next year to those things. Am I wrong in that?
Well, you'll have to keep
that 20%.
That's 20%.
But once it's gained in that first year or whatever.
As long as you're keeping 20% of the debt service, you're covered, so.
That's $200,000 a year roughly, that every year after that that can be used to pay somebody to build those in-house, or to put back to contract those without having to absorb new debt service.
If you think back to the original discussion, I mean, the only thing that's really changed is that now we have a definitive contract amount from Collin for at $4 per thousand. It was always kind of, you were having to weigh, how much do we weigh shifting the burden of treatment to another utility versus keeping it in-house. And we had to make some assumptions. You don't have separate audits. So basically, we assumed that the current treatment plant operating costs were 15% of the total. So it's basically 50-50, and then 30% of that was considered to be towards the treatment versus collection system. Those were just talking with Raymond, kind of a best guess, because you don't really have.
Well, we're fixing to start doing independent reviews somewhere in the next 5 years of sewer and water independent audits based on Act 605. But here's what it breaks down to, just 10,000 foot view. If you want to dig into the weeds, believe me, my wife got on to me for laying in bed last night. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Math." Because I was running these numbers in my head instead of sleeping. I had been for weeks. Here's what it boils down to. Keep it going forward, send it to non-report. You're going to spend more money with higher rates and lose control of what you can do from now on. Or you spend less money, lower rates, and you keep it in-house for something that we can build to in the future. What I was getting to, the SBR system, we don't have to worry about the shifting goalposts. The way that's set up, this is the science behind it. You essentially just change your cycle time in that system, and it treats the water to whatever levels that they want and then sends it out. $8 million building there. Also had a discussion with Mr. Breckenridge, because I'm a plan for the worst, hope for the best guy. We could probably value engineer that, and obviously you can't put it on paper. You could potentially value engineer that substantially less than $8 million. Is that a fair statement, potentially?
I wouldn't say substantially, but you could, scout bids coming in and we can value engineer it to.
Because we have the lagoons to hold the sludge.
Right.
We might be able to use elevation instead of pumps to send out the water. But again, if we're looking at adding 60% in the next 10 years of revenue coming in, either that revenue all goes to final report, or we can use it to build here.
Do we want to do a whole lot of value engineering with something like this?
When we say value engineering, it'd be like there have to be lagoons to hold sludge that comes out of the reactor tank. And we actually have lagoons from our current system where we could store that, probably 20 years worth before we'd have to pay for removal of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are other, it's basically, it's a way to meet the budget. You get the bids in hand, and then you work with the low bidder, the contractor, say, where can we save some, save some money? And mostly what you're looking at is trading convenience for more overhead. So more labor. So, looking at things you can do, like instead of having the UV system in a building that's heated, and you can just do it in a pavilion. You can make it's just, you make certain provisions and cuts to try to meet a budget that you're looking for. It doesn't take any functionality away, but it takes some of the user friendliness away.
I just wanted to be sure we don't cut corners as well we're cutting out jet.
Yeah, I don't think it really affects that, but it wouldn't affect your permit. You've got to meet the permit that's there. That still remains the unknown, but like I said, with a volume-based system, rather than a cycle-based system rather than a volume-based system, you can adapt more easily. But with a change in administration, it would change drastically to the either side. So right now, there's a lot less regulation. We'd have product there, but you get a different administration, a different EPA administrator, they can start hammering on.
Let me speak to that though, because it's in this contract as well. Don't think if new administration and they shift the goalpost substantially, don't think that our rates aren't going to reflect that with Collin for. Because it's spelled in that contract that if the rates change and different things, if the regulations change, then that'll get passed in. Now, on scales of economy, probably won't be as big of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, they already have nutrient removal capability, so they're, I guess, better suited to handle it.
Per contract as well, and I'll say this, Conway Port, is I don't even remember where I heard this, so I'm speaking gossip here. They're anticipating their population nearly double in the next 10 years, and they're gonna have to expand their system. And in the contract, we would be on the hook for the debt service as well with the expansion of that contract. Or the expansion of their system. Again, the 10,000-foot view question is, do we invest in Conway Corp or do we invest in us? And it's cheaper to invest in us. That's as simply as I could put it, and it's probably oversimplistic.
And honestly, the reason this all started is, well, Conway Corp came to us at the county meeting, hey, you wanna look at infrastructure, there's money out there, talk to NRC, oh yeah, infrastructure is gonna rate high. Of course, you ended up, we exhausted every avenue, you ended up not getting any grant funding, even though it was an infrastructure project. Of course, Conway Corp actually changed that. Originally, it was a true regionalization project, I'm saying infrastructure regionalization project, but after they looked at your election system, they changed it from a true regionalization to a master meter arrangement, which does not meet the regionalization requirement. But that's kind of how we ended up, I guess, where we are. We've moved down that path. Now you've finally got a contract number, and it's kind of like, here's the decision time. You've either got to accept the ANRC loan. If you don't sign that and send it in by Friday, they will deobligate those funds. You would just have to reapply if you wanted an ANRC loan in the future. Or you can do private placement bonds, which honestly, now you're probably going to be 75 basis points or so, maybe 100 basis points above the ANRC rate.
Is there a potential that we could get this project funded through ANRC in the next year's cycle?
There is, yeah. I mean, I think you would probably get a loan offer again if you revised it. If you're saying you revise it to wastewater treatment plant and then reapply.
So we're gonna be in the same shape we're in, the same rate, so that debt service number is gonna come down even more. Potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I would
We
expect.
can't make that decision.
I would
this
expect
week.
them, you can't say for sure because they only have a limited budget in the state revolving loan fund. They did turn some away. They didn't award everybody a loan. But I would expect you to get a loan offer on a revised project, but there's no guarantee. But I'm saying you can get the money in a private bond.
It'd still be cheaper than the other loan.
It's my biggest thing is that cheaper, and it's not. The value isn't there to be cheaper, only kicks the can down the road longer, like this town has done forever. And that's why we're in the situation we're in now. So I want to be sure that in 10 years, we don't have the same part of the pond crappy system with higher rates, and then we're going to have to raise the rates again because we still have the same crappy system.
You will have to spend more in labor costs. If you put an SBR system in, you're going to need more operator time on site than you do now with the lagoon system. You're going to have a class 3 operator.
But that's figured into this debt service as well, isn't it?
It's estimated, yes.
Again, it's not like this is in addition to, that's accounted in these numbers.
Currently, we only have one operator. Raymond is the only licensed operator on staff.
Again, we need 2 operators.
Yeah.
So as you said, I mean, we've exhausted this 6 ways from Sunday over the last 2.5 years, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Gentlemen, I wouldn't have brought it back up if, pardon the expression, if the game hadn't changed. With the rate change, with not getting any grant funding, we're looking at an $11.5 million check to sign as opposed to an $8 million check. Potentially. And knowing what it's gonna do to ratepayers versus, literally, if you look on that last page, this was a spelled out proposal for rate, guys, these could be moved. If we went with the wastewater treatment plant with this given debt service, we could make it where water-only customers, they're a 5,000 gallon customer, their bill only increases by $13, which is roughly 22%. And even a sewer customer, where we were looking at 80 to 100% increases at some places, where we were looking, would only increase by $59 or 46%. Hate to use the word only because I'm a ratepayer and it stings. But if you tell me, hey, would you rather increase your bill by $59, or if you'll scroll back up to the top, or by $72, I'd much rather my bill increase by $59.
That's what I'm getting at. Is there value in doing that? We can pay less today, and pay 10 times more in the future because we're not investing in the infrastructure. With this, and I'm not opposed to what we're doing, but what I want to be sure of is that we're not just kicking the can down the road for the sake of cheaper rates, which is what the city has done since it was founded. So we're in this situation. I don't want to do that again.
You will, I mean, you would be in the same boat, because as he said, I mean, your plants wear out, equipment wears out, you got 20 years kind of design life. So, but you're gonna be the same way with Colony Corp. They would, I'm sure they would pass on a prorated percentage to you based upon, now, you won't be able to take advantage, and that's kind of where we were talking about economy of scale. You can't take advantage of their economy of scale, because you're gonna have a 1 MGD plant versus a 16 MGD plant. So the prorated share of future improvements is likely to be higher to you on a percentage basis, but you've got to factor in, as you said, the control and the other stuff. But that's been the question all along, is how do you weight the unknowns of the future and keep maintaining that treatment system and potential regulations and keeping an operator, maintenance, versus shifting that off to a third party and just paying them for 1,000 gallons. And when we were thinking, around $3, it was kind of hey, we're roughly at break even. Now that you have a definitive $4 per 1,000, then it changes. You have to value that. You have to value shifting that responsibility a little higher than maybe we were thinking before.
And my concern with that $4 rate is, if $6.50 is what they gave us, and back down to $4, how quickly are we gonna be back up to that $6? Is $6.50 what they want? And they're gonna give us $4 for a year or two, and then bump us closer to that?
It appears to me, James, it appears to me, they don't want it. But if we're willing to pay the price, then they'll take it. I'm real disappointed in it because I voted to go that direction. However, with the information that we had at the time, you start looking back and you start seeing all the unknowns, and you start plugging in a couple of the unknowns, the price goes out of sight. Then you look at the contract. When they decide to do something, correct me if I'm wrong, on the other side of their system, we have to share possibly that expense. However, they're not sharing in our expense. They can have us out.
That was only, they were only clausing there about their treatment system, not the collection system. So you didn't share any part of the collection system. But
They didn't share any part of ours out.
no, they didn't. In fact, I mean, they specifically took it out. Originally it was going to be regionalization. You were going to become a Colony Corp customer, and they exited that and backed out on the regionalization part. But yeah, I mean, I think the contract is still negotiable. Like I said, we gave them red lines. We met with Brett McDaniel, who's the engineering supervisor, and Mark Ferguson about specifically the red lines. They agreed to make some changes, but we have not seen a revision. Now you have a per dollar amount, so you'd obviously want to see that final contract and make sure your concerns were addressed. I think a big concern was they had a surcharge on there for excess water, which we were like, just why do you have this? You're charging us per 1,000. What do you care? If it's a per 1,000 rate and that's adequate to meet your needs, why are you giving us a surcharge? You don't have to deal with the collection system.
For me, I guess, we have to decide whether we're gonna take this money in 3 days. And it's a lot of money, and there's a lot of unknowns.
I mean, to be honest, ARC probably wouldn't like me saying this, but you could, if you're still questioning it and you want more time, you can sign it and back up later. I mean, you're not signing the bond. You have until the bond ordinance, and that's when you have to sign on the dotted line. I agree to pay this back on this amortization schedule.
Oh, but if we're gonna try to,
The problem with if you back out and you still want the NRC money in the future, they know, well, we couldn't trust you to stay with your word last
Pick
time.
a direction. I'm not asking you to vote tonight. We can make it work, like you said, and sign it and keep going forward and then discuss it more, but I don't get to vote.
Sounds like,
It's pretty black and white, clear to me, but I don't get to vote, and that's why I brought it before you and tried to give you as much, not questioning anybody's intelligence or anything, but trying to give you as much legible information and anecdotal information as well, visionary information, because James, I see what you're saying about the value, and are we just doing this for now? My opinion, for what it's worth. I feel like going forward with the Forest Mountain project is the short-sighted option. Creating our own SBR system to invest in ourselves, to keep the local control, to save money for ratepayers today is the marathon, is the long-term goal that we've got something to build to when our population doubles potentially in the next 10 years. We've got something that's our own. I'll quote Mr. Breckenridge. We coined this a couple of years ago. He told me who is not profitable. I'm going to be honest. I see a way where 15 years from now, who is in fact profitable for the city of Hapeville. That we can reinvest. He's shaking his head. Y'all don't lose this notice.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's because it's not profitable because it's always subsidized by the water, because it's cost
Sure.
more relatively than the water, and
That's happening either way though.
that's how all cities are set up. But it's starting to change, and the new, they just passed a new Act 605, it's a good brand number, but for sewer, which is going to require all the same thing that you just went through with water. And so it's coming, and they're going to have to be separate entities, and they're going to have to be accounted for separately, separate audits, and be self-sustaining. Like the USDA was going to require you when we're trying to look at USDA funding, they required it to be basically sewer has to be self-sustaining. You can't subsidize it with water. That's where we're headed. Everybody's sewer rates are going to be higher. Maybe then it will be more of a break even instead of a.
Well, and again, if that's minimum of 5 years down the road, they haven't even given guidance on that, much less implementation dates, we could have a chunk of this debt service paid off before then.
it seems to me the Conway deal is, like you said, the numbers have changed, the calculus has changed. It seems like, to me, it feels like trying to go forward with Conway is trying to pound a square peg into a round hole. We can make it work. It's gonna probably shatter the peg in the process. We'll plug the hole, but in a while, we're gonna have to drill that peg out. We're gonna have to put something in there that actually fits.
I'm for doing our own thing, right? I'm convinced when you really break down the numbers, because we made a decision last time on a lot of unknowns. And now that we have a lot of the knowns, it speaks for itself. 100%. So that's where I'm.
Yeah, I'm uneasy about taking the money to go the Conway route. I haven't heard what I've heard. I'm not uneasy about not going the Conway route. But if we keep it in-house, I would want the project to be laid out professionally. I don't want the good old boy of wink, wink, we'll put the money towards it, and in 10 years, we don't have any money and our sewer is falling apart. So I would want this professionally project managed. And I would want specific, measurable goals that we would be meeting, and that would get us to that. So that in 10 years, we're not sitting around going, what's our $8 million? Why do we have holes everywhere in all our pipes? Where's the money? I don't know, where'd it go? I don't know, because that's the way we've always operated.
Hopefully the water board will be more involved in that and look at the numbers and be less of a formality and more of an important integral part of this project. Am I wrong?
No, I hadn't thought about that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Maybe function is more of a check and balance system than just, here's $8.5 million, let's hope that it goes where it should go.
One thing to note on that is that these numbers don't reflect any flushing system improvements. This is just defined the treatment side.
But on
So-
either option.
Right, neither option, so these
My
rates
vision
will
about
not
the collection
fund
system
collection system.
comes from the additional ratepayers that would come on top of those 1242. And on top of the 3210 that come in the mix. That's gonna add the addition. Along with the extra 20% after year one, after that money's set aside, the 20% of that debt service, is that rate's gonna continue to generate that extra 20% year after year, roughly 200,000 a year that could be solved toward infrastructure. Don't let me overspeak there, am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have the RRA account, which is factored in 5% of gross revenue a year, so that can go towards your flushing system.
Yep.
So there is a little bit in there.
I think it needs to be written in there that if there is that overage damage, it's not could go to the system, that it does go to the system. It doesn't, and it's not treated like a sponge
getting laid up.
project.
Would it be inappropriate for me at this point to make a suggestion that we vote on?
I would like to hear from, because we've got some new council members that have never heard
We have one
any
in
of
here,
this
Tony.
information.
Yeah,
And
one-
Mr. Kelsey had a question as well from, that I would love to hear some input.
I don't have to go first.
Mr. Kelsey, you want to?
No, I grew up in a city-owned water system and everything else like that. It does work. And what you guys all talking about right now, you go and come, that's gone. There's no way, you don't get to decide. You don't get profits or anything above that to reinvest. It's gone. So, yeah, Mayflower dug themselves in a hole, but let's start putting a hole in to get ourselves out of it. And if you choose to, go with Conway, you don't get these options you're talking about right now. It's all gone. I just really hope that, you guys put your backs to the walls and just go.
I think what you said, though, acknowledges the fact that we have, as a city, dug ourselves into a hole.
So,
And we are in a hole, and the only way to get us out of that hole is going to be with rate increases.
there's going to be rate increases, but we can't.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rate increase.
We can control what that rate increase looks like and what we're putting it towards, is the whole point.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey. Thank you.
Randy. What you got to say, Randy?
Yeah, I'd say keep it in-house from the numbers I'm seeing here, instead of going with Conway. Of course, this is the first time I'm seeing all these.
True. That's why it's not, almost not even fair.
Yeah,
Some of us been looking at these numbers for 5 years plus.
yeah.
But he may have a clear picture.
That's why I want to be here.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's been a long road to get to these pages you're looking
yeah,
at tonight.
looks like it. Yeah, I'd like to see it kept in Mayflower.
Ricky?
You got any questions? Carmen, you got anything to add?
I'd say let's vote on it. Let's figure out what direction.
Give me guidance on whether or not to sign that paper. I've entertained the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to keep the water or the sewer system in-house. I guess that's the option that I'm, what's the problem?
So that's what I'm looking at, the
We just.
Colin, help me out.
In contractual negotiation with Calling Corp and not accept the ANRC offer for the Calling Corp project.
And it will not be as easy as repealing a resolution that we made back in August of last year. Listen, I didn't, it wasn't my anticipation for this to come to a vote tonight. I know that sounds crazy after all the information I presented you, but
Don't change my mind.
I'm not trying
Keep
to
talking.
change your mind. I just, guys, I want y'all to make a decision and do what's best, what you feel is best for the ratepayers and people in their lives.
I don't think that we have a solid way forward at this point, but I think we have a solid way, or a solid idea of where we don't want to go, which is the Conway.
Let me address one more thing before we do this. The lost revenue that we'll lose from county at this point is roughly 800,000 something, 900,000.
About $1 million.
Look, just short $1 million. Side note. The project that money goes to, if we did it and don't use it, is a common core project.
I guess, what's the relevant title?
Well, if we don't do this, then they get that money towards, on their pet projects versus us getting it forward for our project.
And I can tell you this, the core Judge Dodson, when I did speak to him about the potential and how I was gonna present this, they tried every way possible. They're like, man, if we could figure out a way to keep, just, hands are tied. We're not gonna come at you for what's already been spent at. You know, we're not looking at that. This is better than nothing, but none of that extra money was figured into either of these columns either, so.
Well, I guess,
I can't come up with any good marks toward Conway Corp. If I could come up with a little bit of a reason why we're to benefit.
we try to take a stab at the motion. I would make a motion then to not accept the loan that we've been offered and not go forward with Conway Corp. In lieu of, we will develop, we will continue to flesh out the plan on how you're going to do it both. But at this point, we just know that we don't want to go with Conway Corp.
I will say this, in my opinion, this is a super big project and a super big decision for the city of Maycloud. I'm not sure that making a decision once a month is adequate for this size of project that's detrimental to the citizens of this city. If we need to double up and have some workshops to get this stuff figured out and get it done, I think that's probably a good idea.
Going forward, I would love, I don't want this to appear as another instance of kicking the can. I would love to start with projections, with actually engineering and force main project. Start tomorrow. I mean, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
We already have some.
You know, I know that you guys, when we did, you know, the former mayor and Raymond and I did, we pursued the other avenues prior to the calling for, so we looked at, we met with ADQ about your current permit, and like, hey, why do you have an ammonia limit? You know, could this be negotiated? We talked about the lagoon system.
And let me be fair, we can go with the lagoon system for probably closer to $6-7 million. That's not gonna meet our needs in the term.
There's other stuff we can talk about. If you decide not to go with Calling Corp, then we need to start bringing y'all back into that.
I love the SBR system. It adapts to us. But again, the motion I have from Mr. Snyder, if you would, made a motion to not accept the ANRC offer and not go forward with the force main project. Does that sound? Yes.
Second.
Did I hear the purpose here, the purpose?
Good roll call.
Mr. Higgins.
Yes.
Mr. Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I thank you on behalf of the ratepayers.
on the right side. Paige, thank you for crunching the numbers and making it make sense. Appreciate you.
We still got work to do.
I know.
Thank you, Mr. Breckenridge, for all the work that you've done on this, to work with us to get this done. And those guys at Conway, I just can't imagine them just shooting a number like that out of the blue. And they know we've been working on this so long. That's very
I think that's
disappointing.
part of it, Colonel, to be honest. I think they felt like we were locked into it, so they could name whatever they want before it's on paper. I'm not trying to vilify Brett Carroll, I'm not. But business is business.
And I think Mr. Mason was right in that they don't want to do it, but if we're willing to pay for it through the nose, then they'll take it and they're gonna turn a mighty profit off of.
They're gonna come this way. I mean, they're gonna end up coming all the way to city limits.
Yeah,
But we're gonna pay them to take it all the way to them, and then they're gonna capitalize up it all the way back to us. Seems like it would be more of a, if everybody wanted to do that, it seems like it would be more of a team effort instead of a Mayflower effort. That makes sense? Because it's gonna benefit them largely down the road, but I got to thinking about that. If we paid for it all to go that way, and then they start on their place and start making money off a system we've put in.
If anyone thinks that Conway is not gonna move this way, you've been asleep for about, I don't know, a century of history. Because they're gonna come this way. We can either acknowledge that and prepare for it, or we can be a Conway suburb. But if they're planning on doubling their population in 10 years, where are they gonna put those people? You've been to Conway recently, there's not a whole lot of area within the city.
Multi-unit housing, to put them in left and right.
Well, they are, but still, you're talking about 65,000 people that they're gonna increase, they're gonna need more land. So they're going to have to annex, they're gonna have to start coming this way. So that's, in today's day and age, you're either annexing or you're getting annexed. And it's time for people to kind of wake up to that or to that reality. You're either the annexor or the annexing.
Gentlemen, it's been a long night. I made up for that 17-minute meeting in December. Any public comments? Love to entertain. Council members, any other?
Mayor, with your permission, I'll draft a letter for you to review, sign, and send to ARC, not accepting the offer, so they're formally aware that you're, why you didn't send the
Yes, thank you, Kyle. Council, any other comments? I was going to, let me make these quick announcements. Next regular council meeting is Tuesday, February 24th at 6:30 p.m. Our next planning commission meeting is Tuesday, February 10th at 6:30 p.m. And our next council workshop is Thursday, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. There are no other comments. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn. Thank you, gentlemen.
We're getting right.
Thank you for stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
It'll be much better.
We're working tomorrow.
Just got to be a grown up.
Your salary, right?
Jimmy Joe, what are you grinning about? You got to be up.
The smoke still needs some work.
Yeah, it does, don't it?
Hey, have y'all looked